I think that's good. What is up, everybody, and welcome to the 13th episode of the Minutes of Mindfulness Series. My name is JC Conway. I am your host, and as always, we are incredibly grateful to have you here. Thank you for watching, and please, again, be sure to leave us a comment. Let us know how we're doing. Let us know what you want to see in the future. We can't wait to hear from you. And so with that, why don't we go ahead and jump right in? I want to start this week's episode with a story that I heard for the first time last week. The story goes like this. A young man in his mid-20s from Iowa is closing up his restaurant at the end of a busy Friday night. As he walks to the back of his restaurant to put away the last of his perishables for the weekend, he hears a loud boom followed by a click. As he turns around, he realizes that his worst fears have just come true. He's locked inside his walk-in freezer for the remainder of the night and for the remainder of the weekend. After hours of frantically trying to find his way out of the freezer, this young man with a beautiful wife and a newborn child at home resigns to his fate. He knows that in just a matter of hours, he will lose consciousness and freeze to death. So in an attempt to leave something behind for his family, he begins to document his experience through a series of letters to his loved ones. At first, he writes a brief will to his family and apologizes for the terrible position that he's put himself in, but more importantly, his family. He closes his first letter by telling his loved ones that he knows he will die soon and that he's accepted that, but he hopes that the cold will be a nice, gentle way to go. Later, he writes to his family again, stating he is starting to lose feelings in his fingers, his toes, and then later he writes, I've lost all feelings in my arms, my hands, and my legs. He knows the end is near. He knows time is slipping away. In his last letter to his family, this young man, with his entire life in front of him, begins to slip away. He writes, I'm falling asleep. I'm losing consciousness. I'm losing feeling. Please love me. Please remember me. And remember that I always love you. The next morning, as expected, the young man is found in his Iowa restaurant, dead. During the crime scene investigation, however, the police found something incredible. The freezer, as it turns out, was unplugged hours before he trapped himself. Meaning, the freezer never got below 50 degrees Fahrenheit. So what the hell happened here? How can somebody die and apparently freeze to death without having been subjected to freezing temperatures? I think you guys know the answer here. And the answer is that this guy, this poor young man with his whole life in front of him, worried himself to death. He had resigned to the fact that he was going to freeze to death and die. We all worry about things in our lives. We all have many things on our plate. But in reality, most of the stuff we worry about never happens. So what can we do in a world full of worry? How do we stop worrying ourselves to death? Well, I have 4 steps that I use to try to stop myself from worrying all the time. The first thing I do is I ask myself, what am I worrying about? Because by knowing the actual problem, I can then try to address the problem. A lot of us walk around our day-to-day lives with a myriad of worries in our mind, but we don't know the specific reason behind the worry. So by asking yourself, what is really going on here, you can pinpoint the actual problem. Once you've pinpointed the problem, you can address the problem. Secondly, the second thing I ask myself is, what is the absolute worst that can happen? If I'm worried about doing a presentation or worried about giving a speech, I often try to go over the absolute worst case scenario. The scenario where I pee my pants in front of everyone. The scenario where I fall on stage and faint. And at the end of the day, even though those things might suck, I'm still here. And I realize that even if the worst thing were to happen, I would be okay and I would be able to make it to the next day. The third thing that I ask myself is, can I improve or change the situation? Can I improve my sense of ease and peace in my life? Can I find a way to stop worrying myself to death? And finally, the fourth thing I ask, if I can't change it, if I can't improve the situation, is this worry useful? In other words, can I see that if I cannot improve my situation or I cannot change my situation, I have one option left, and that is to accept my situation. If you accept what troubles you and worries you completely and wholeheartedly, you will find inevitably that the worry is no longer useful for you. So next time you find yourself trapped in that proverbial walk-in freezer, ask yourself, what is worrying me? What's the worst that can happen? Can I change or improve the situation? And if I can't, can I accept my situation? If you find acceptance in life, you will find happiness in life. So with that, guys, thank you as always for watching our Minutes of Mindfulness series. You have no idea how grateful we are for you and what you're doing for this community to make us more mindful and more open-hearted. With that, we hope you have a blessed and beautiful week, and we'll see you next Sunday.